Hi everyone. Let's talk about our doc style research. We've discussed a lot, the requirement of following a formatting standard set by our audience. We need to go out and find what our audience is expecting to hear. And our audience, remember, is going to be our future peers, the people who are already in our field of interest or our career field. We want to write in a way that connects with them, in a way that they will expect. This does two things for us. A, it helps prepare us in terms of how we communicate, but it also supports our credibility. We cannot talk to an audience in a way that they don't expect, or we aren't going to connect with them, and we're not going to seem very credible as an expert on whatever it is that we're talking about. So to determine which doc style that we're going to be writing in, the first thing that I want to remind you guys is your personal preference does not matter here. We can write about whatever we want to, but we have to write in the format that is expected of our audience, by our audience. This is a tenet, a required component to this class. So just because we like MLA does not mean that we get to write in MLA. So let's make sure that we are seeking out formatting styles that are appropriate for the field that we are studying. And how do we do that? Well, there's a couple different ways. Before we get to that, I want to remind you that I will look at these and then I will give you approval if that's the doc style that you are going to be using. So I try to get these back to you really quickly so that you can start on your next assignment and have it formatted, start formatting it correctly, and get that documentation style manual. So you will submit this and I will reply to you quickly with an approval, and that's the documentation style that we will go with. The details and how we are going to accomplish this, first thing, there is no page length requirement. However, you do need to provide all of the required items. Now, what are the required items, you may ask? Well, they are how you went about doing your research. I want an explanation of how you went about determining what doc style to use. There are 6 suggestions to help guide your research here. You have to complete 4. You can of course complete all 6 if that's going to make you feel more confident, but you do have to complete 4 out of the 6. What are our 6 options for doing this research? First, you can ask a professional in your field. Say if you're going into nursing, you can find a nurse and say, when you were studying, what documentation style were you required to use? You can review several articles and maybe look around on the websites that publish them for like writer's guidelines or author guidelines or submission guidelines, and they might tell you, hey, if you want to be submitted in this journal, in this field, you're going to have to write in this documentation style. You can ask your local librarian. You can ask me. Big part of my day job is helping students with documentation styles. So feel free to go ahead and ask me. Of course, you do need to do the other things as well. Taking my word for it is very flattering, but will not fulfill the requirements of this assignment. So you can ask me, or you can ask another librarian what documentation style is common to your field of study. You can Google it. If you're a sociology major, you can Google what style do sociologists write, or something along that line. You can also review the resources in Moodle and sort of compare and contrast. I have a list of about 12 different documentation styles in the semester's resources folder. So take a look at that and compare it maybe to some of the sources that you found in Google and see if you can tell, yeah, this one's being written in Harvard, or yeah, this one's being written in IEEE. You can also ask a member of the WRC. So those are your 6 options in terms of research. I encourage you to do all 6, but you do need to do 4 out of the 6. The next step is I need you to indicate which of the options you did and provide a sentence or 2 stating what you discovered. This is just a recommended format. You can do it however you wish. For example, I bolded option 1, I asked a professional in my field, and then I provide a sentence clarifying. I asked Mr. McFly what documentation style time travelers should use when reporting their findings, and he suggested APA. And bam, it's that simple. Option 4, I Googled it. Several websites seem to recommend APA, however 2 or 3 recommended MLA or Chicago, so I'm not really sure which one to use. So choose 4 of the 6, and then tell me explicitly what you did and what your results were. And then finally, here's the very important part. You need to include a clearly stated indication of which documentation style that you intend to use, such as I will be using blank doc style for the duration of this course. I will be using the MLA documentation style. I will be using the APA documentation style. I will be using the IEEE documentation style. Whichever documentation style you are intending on using needs to be included in a clear statement, and then I will reply to that and say, why yes, Rowan, you will be using XDocStyle for the duration of this course. Please note that you will lose points if you do not include the above statement. So to recap what we're doing here, you're going to go out and do some research to find your documentation style. You're going to choose 4 out of the 6 options. You're going to tell me which 4 out of the 6 options you did and what results you got from that, and then you will include a clear, I will be using this documentation style for the duration of this course. We scroll down a little bit and get some of our grading information here. This is FRI, that means this is a required assignment. It's very common, isn't it? And then here's our grading. Do you provide discussion points for 4 research options? Yes, you get 12. Do you provide a clear statement of intent regarding documentation style? And you get 6 points. And again, grammar is very loose yet. Just give it a good try. Let's not have some spelling errors in there, and do attempt MLA. But again, it's not super required. I just want to make sure that your name is on there, all right? And this is our documentation style research. If you have any questions at all, hit me up. We can text, we can email, we can talk in person. And you can always post questions to the general discussion forum. Alright, you got this. It's going to be a good experience, trust me. Maybe a little tedious, a little frustrating, but that's alright. We'll get you there.